West Florida. Ready? Oh, you in the back? Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure everyone's here. Yeah, I'm just ready to start. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to tonight's meeting. We're going to get started with roll call.
Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Esteban Chavez.
Here.
Lilia Agosto. Carrie Conti. Maria Cruz. Diana Gonzalez. Nicole Wong. Jeremy Kaplan. Erin Keith. Paul Mack. Rosie Mota. And Sam Sierra. Roll's been called. You're welcome.
Make a quick change to the agenda today. We're going to have item 3, the presentation on a public art proposal for installation in Sunset Park first. So Hengil and Lucia, I'll turn it over to you. Oh, 1 second. We're gonna give you guys a mic.
I do. Give me a second. Oh, 1 second. Thank you. Just everyone, just please be patient while we're getting the presentation on. Share your screen. Yep, should be on the toolbar on the bottom. Oh. Hold on.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chair and Mr. Vice Chair. My name is Heng-gil Han, and I'm an immigrant from Korea, a proud immigrant. And thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present our public art project to you and to community, for this community. Thank you very much again. And the project is a part of a shared dialogue, shared space, which is a series of citywide public art project. So we participate DOT's open streets and summer streets and the park in the art in the park programs. And then we do participatory events. We host the participatory events through this programmatic, through these programs. And, we offer like 9 times participatory art events. And people join the participatory art events, and then artist creates artwork together with participant. So participants become a co-author of the public art, which is the final product of the events. And then we end the events in September, and then in October and November, we will finalize the final public art, the culmination of the project, and then we will present it in the community where the artists are from, so where the artists are based in. So this evening, we'll present Lucia Workmeister, and her project is Tell Me Your Tree Story. So no further ado, I'll just hand over microphone to Lucia.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everybody, for having us here. As Hengel said, as part of the Art Forums, Korea Art Forums Shared Dialogue, Shared Space. Louder? Louder? Like, okay, yes, no problem. And I'm a Sunset Park resident. I'm an artist. I have my studio also in Sunset Park. So for me, it was clear that I wanted to present my project in this neighborhood and in the park that I always come for recreation and solace. So I proposed developing Tell Me Your Tree Story, a public art and community-driven initiative that interweaves cultural, heritage, and environmental. Hello? Yeah. The project welcomes people from all backgrounds, focusing on immigrant and diasporic communities. So Tell Me a Tree Story unfolds through 2 components. First, a series of participatory activities, and I will lead for this in total 9, but for this in Sunset Park, for this Tell Me Tree Story in the park, I will lead 3 intergenerational workshops in the Sunset Park parkland, and then in different locations for the shared space, shared dialogue, shared space initiative. And the second part is a culminating outdoor installation that features sculptural sabo flowers. Can you, yes, next here, we can see them. Sculptural sabo flowers painted on wood and weatherproofed with resin. Referencing the sabo, sabo is the coral tree here from Anahi's legend. The sculpture will serve as a gathering place for the community, honoring resilience, cultural memory, and enduring bond between humanity and nature. A little bit of context is that Tell Me Tree Story is inspired by the legendary tale of Anaí, as I just mentioned, a young indigenous Guarani woman from South America who resisted conquest and found solace in the transformation of a coral tree. The project reimagines this ancestral narrative as a symbol of resilience and the deep connection between humanity and the natural world. Yes. So through participatory and community storytelling, my work also explores how folklore shapes Latine and other communities' identity within the ongoing experience of diaspora. Folklore is a vital thread connecting us to our ancestral roots. It preserves collective memory and cultural continuity, even across distance and displacement. As traditions adapt and blend with new influences, they form hybrid identities that reflect both heritage and evolution. In this way, folklore becomes a tool to preserve cultural roots, empower and self-define who we are in an ever-changing world. As a note, the sabo flower, the coral tree flower, is the national flower for Argentina and Uruguay. And in Argentina, it was declared in 1942 and is celebrated November 22nd. These dates are important because part of the programming will happen maybe not exactly these days, but maybe in November and October and September. So now the potential locations, I think you showed them already. Here are what we think are potential locations in the park, where there is a cross here on top right is where we are planning to install the Tell Me a Tree Story sculpture. Is the lawn overlooking 5th Avenue between 41st and 43rd Street. These are pictures that we took of the lawn that we think that is a very good spot for the placing of the installation. There's plenty of space, and the sculpture like wouldn't like damage in the installation any of the roots of other trees in the near in the same lawn. Can we put the next slide, the description, they talk about it, and project specifications. Of course, we're planning to create it this year. The medium will be wood that will be painted and resin, and dimensions 6 feet by 7 by 3 with an anticipated weight of 300 pounds. We saw the location, and I started working already in this project, and we are planning to install in sometime in October 1st through October 15th. As part of as mentioned when I started projecting the slides, I'm planning to have several workshops before installing the piece, then for inaugural day and post-inaugural workshops. Before installing, pre-inaugural workshop will be a workshop with felt and paper collages where participants will work with pre-cut shapes of different flowers, and will make ofrendas. Then we'll keep them and will be exhibited in the final exhibition that Hengel mentioned that will be probably in December 2026. For the inaugural day, I'm planning a communal braiding yarn or fabrics, telling our legends or stories at the same time, like sharing stories. And also those braids will be collected and will be part of the final exhibition. I'm adding also in this inaugural day and then for a post-inaugural workshop, Plan Your Story workshop, that where I invite participants to paint mini pots with images of folk stories that they want to see in the pots. We will have also soil and seed that will be put into the mini pots, and they will take that home and water and see the plant grow. Tell Me Your Story sculpture will benefit Sunset Park residents by creating a welcoming gathering space, strengthening cultural memory that creates environmental awareness, encouraging civic engagement with activities that build community connections, and fostering intergenerational and cross-cultural connections through storytelling and art making. Angel, you want to add Something about the program?
Not much, but then, the post installation workshop, post inaugural workshop would happen probably in March, right? Yeah. The work, once it's installed, we do not have the permission yet from the park department. So we applied and it's pending. It takes a lot of time. And, and it takes in about 90 days. So after that, we will know for sure. And in October, once you install, and we have the first workshop, and then it will get cold, so we will get into hibernation, and then come back in March to do the workshop. And then the work, once it's the way I proposed is the first 3 months duration for the exhibition of the public art. And then if it goes well, then we extend it another 3 months and then up to 1 year. So if it goes very well, then it will stay there for 1 year. If not, perhaps 6 months or 3 months, something like that. Yeah. Thank you very much. And then if you have questions, please ask us now.
No.
Anyone have any questions?
My question is, so you're talking about next March, on next year, on 2027? Is that when? Okay. And you said from 41st to 43rd. Where exactly are you thinking about doing it? Sorry.
It is gonna be Sunset Park Land. On the round, do you see the white X mark? Yeah, it's very small on the screen.
Closer to 41st? That's the Healing Grove. You know that, right? That's called the Healing Grove.
It's on the lawn.
It's that huge area is called the Healing Grove for 9/11. So I just want you to know that. Okay, so
Here? Because there are the plants here. Yeah. The Healing Grove, I think it's here in this part. Because there are, yeah. There is a plaque here on this side. Yes, it's here. And this is here. Mm.
So the Rose Garden is here,
Mhm.
Healing Grove is here. But it's fine. I mean, you would have to check with. You would have to check with US Forest because they have that's their domain, let's say, in the park also. So you know.
Thank you. Yes, and we are open to flexible to move it to a different part in the park. Thank you. You also had a question? No.
Yeah.
Any question here? Okay.
I have a question. Are you going to be doing any more community engagement on the placement of the art, any other workshops or outreach?
9 in total. These 3 are specifically to make them outdoors and around the sculpture. But then there will be other 6 that have the locations exactly, Hengil, that we also outdoors. workshops, and in my case, with my projects, all around this project.
I have one more question. So I see here that you're asking for a letter of support, but you've already submitted a proposal to DOT, right? So what exactly would this letter of support be for?
Not only DOT, but also Parks Department and then the council member office. So all of them sees it's a very valuable asset if you will get support letter from you. And then they can immediately approve. If you agree to us and if you support us, they will say, okay, go ahead.
Need a specific time for that?
It's better.
Thing is, today, we don't have a quorum, so unfortunately, we can't vote as a committee to give you the letter of support, so we would have to wait until the next general meeting. And that would be, when would that be, Natasha? That's in May.
That's gonna be third Wednesday in May, and hold on, I pull it up.
It's May 13th.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. No, it's actually gonna be May 20th, will be the next board meeting.
Does that work with the timeline?
I will have to ask them just to wait for us.
Because as Diana said, since there's not a quorum tonight, she's gonna have to present it at the full board meeting.
I'll communicate with the city council members and then the parks and all other parties. So they will wait.
We just don't want to be the bottleneck. Yeah.
Two questions. It's 300 pounds. That area is used a lot. There's no way that it could fall, how is it gonna be,
So I'm working with fabricators that have extensive experience in working with artists in the public realm. It's not something that we will just place there. And what we'll have here is that depends on parks, either creating a platform for this to anchor the sculpture, or a concrete platform, or an elevated platform to, again, anchor the sculpture, the two pieces to that platform.
and the workshop, where are you planning to have the workshops?
The first workshop that is pre-inauguration, probably to create momentum, even if the sculpture is not yet installed, but use the space where it will be installed and gather there and have an outdoor workshop there. For the second one, that is the inaugural day, the workshop will be like around or close the sculpture, and something similar for the third workshop after post-inaugural workshop. No, inaugural. Inaugural. To inaugurate, yes. Yeah. The opening of the, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions? Oh, sorry, one more.
Have you guys thought of any other locations for the sculpture if you don't get the parks permit?
For this park or for any other park?
No, just like any other public spaces that might be able to support the sculpture if you don't get approval from city parks.
We have to find it. We don't have a backup plan yet, but then we have to find it. Yeah. So far, Parks is very supportive. We've been partnered with the Park past 4 years, and then has never been denied yet. And we play very early in the stage in the game already. This is going up in October or November, possibly. So we are now March. We started this process in January. So by now, most people knows about that. And then even mayoral office is supporting art right now. For the mayor, the MTA is the best museum of the world because you can get the work or experience the art everyday life. So that's the first goal of the project, bring art to people in the everyday situation. So, we are aligned with the city policies, we are aligned with the parks policies, so I do not see why they would refuse it, unless you refuse it.
But we'll bring it up in committee. I mean,
Thank you very much.
yeah, I don't think there's any other questions, so I think we're all set, yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, you can unplug, and you should be good to stop sharing your screen. Our next presenter is going to be the Prospect Park Alliance for the community update for 2026. Helis, if you want to come up. Oh, you have to set up your projector. Yeah. We have one too.
Well, no, it looks good on there, just they're not able to see it on the screen. Our projector is like not working.
I think it's the other one. Yeah. the Zoom. There are also handouts in the back if anyone wants to grab a handout of the presentation.
One, two, three. Hello. Um, First of all, thank you, CB7, for welcoming me today. Thank you, Natasha, for all the work on coordinating this. My name is Helios Rodriguez. I am the Community Relations Coordinator for the Prospect Park Alliance. And we do these yearly presentations at the 5 community boards that surround the park because we want to continue the relationship and collaborating with the local communities that call Prospect Park their backyard. So with that being said, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what the Alliance did on 2025 and what we're doing for 2026. Starting with budgeting. It is budget season. The mayor and the council are still negotiating the final budget for the next fiscal year. We had some requests that were properly funded in 2026, but for fiscal year 2027, there's still work to be done. We're focusing mainly in the restoration of one of our historic restrooms in the park. We keep hearing from the community that restrooms, having reliable access to the restrooms is one of the top priorities, and we are committed at keeping those access to restrooms. So in the image, which I'm sorry that is so small today, but there are printers in the back. You can see the Willing restroom, which is a historic restroom, which currently, because of the damage that the weather has caused on the ceiling, it has to close every time it rains. So we are asking the city council and the mayor to commit 2.5 million into a complete restoration of the restroom so that it will be serving year round instead of depending to the weather. Since the Alliance is a nonprofit, we do engage heavily on advocacy. We are part of the Play Fair Coalition, coalition of organizations and groups and advocates that ask the city to commit at least 1% of the city budget to the Parks Department. The Parks Department has been getting the blunt of budget cuts for years now, and their budget is still at not the levels that they are. We were a little disappointed that the most recent preliminary budget from the Mayor Mandani still is under what it was before. It is basically a cut of $33 million that we are hoping and we are advocating that he will keep his promise and continue to fund the Parks Department as it should. To continue maintenance, such as removing garbage, making access to restrooms more reliable, and also continue free programming that is provided through the Parks Department to any New Yorker. So I invite you all to join us at the Player for Coalition to make those requests. Here are some updates on Parks operations. First, summer of 2025 was a success for the Alliance. We carry out 2 renew projects. Renew projects are what we call restorations of infrastructure that are made possible through private funding. In this case, we restored 2 restrooms in the park. One, the picnic house, which is on the west side of the park, and then the other one by the band shell, the Lina Horner band shell, where we normally have the Celebrate Brooklyn Festival. That's the Harmony restroom, which we also were able to restore. And then in terms of the general maintenance of the parks, as I said, the Parks Department's budget keeps getting cut, so the Alliance assists the maintenance of the park by partnering with another organization called ACE New York. ACE New York is an amazing organization that provides job opportunities to people who have recently experienced homelessness. In this case, they come to the park and provide extra maintenance to the park, extra cleaning, extra garbage pickup, and all of that is funded through the Alliance to continue assisting the Parks Department. On top of that, we also have a robust volunteering department, which saw great success in 2025. We had nearly 16,000 people volunteer. We heard from the community that there were a lot of people who work regular 9 to 5s, and they wanted to be able to commit themselves even during the work week. So the Alliance started this new program that we call Sunset Series, where people can volunteer in the early evening. That way, you can go to your regular 9 to 5 and then come volunteer to the park in the afternoon. And, you're helping keep this park the beauty that it is. Oh, before I move on, I also did want to mention that that was for summer. Winter, we also saw the impact of having those budget cuts for the Parks Department. We saw 3 major snowfalls this winter season. The very first one was a wake-up call to the Parks Department that many of their equipment was not well suited or prepared for handling the amount of snow that fell on that first snowfall that I believe was in December. The second and the third, we were very better prepared to respond to those snowstorm because the Parks Department realized that equipment had to be upgraded or maintained. So the response time was quicker. We were able to work with the administration to have people work on 12-hour shifts, basically shoveling snow immediately after the snowfall stopped, prioritizing sidewalks and pedestrian spots that were heavily utilized on the park, and then working inwards into smaller paths. Great job. Every time that I mention the Parks Department, I have to give them kudos because they have such low staffing, and yet they are able to maintain such a big park as Prospect Park at the level of that staffing. Now into another work that we do is capital projects. The Alliance has an in-house design and construction teams that carry out most of the restoration projects in the park. And we are very busy. We have, as you can see from this diagram, we have a lot of capital projects that are currently about to start, have started, or soon will start in the park. Last year, we were finally able to ribbon cut Grand Army Plaza, the Sailors, and the Arc was finally able to complete that work, restoration that even gave us an award for the amazing job that we did in restoring both the facade, but also the statues at Grand Army Plaza. Now, moving to the right, projects that we just recently did a groundbreaking for. We have the Bell Restoration, which is in the northern east corner of the park. We are restoring the landscape. We're basically removing trees that have been affected by Dutch elm disease, or they are currently not safe because they are at the risk of falling over. We are removing those trees and replanting 35 mature trees and roughly 380 saplings of trees. So it's going to be a major restoration. We're also updating the paving so that it's ADA accessible, and adding a restroom to that northern part of the park, which is just like 10-minute walk from Grand Army Plaza. Again, visitors have told us repeatedly during the design of that project that they wanted to add a restroom in that area of the park. So we listened, and we're adding a small pavilion that will grant that access to a restroom. And then covered by the closed captions, but it is that we recently started restoring the pedestrian perimeter at the southeast corner, Ocean Avenue and Parkside, thanks to the Councilmember Joseph and the Brooklyn delegation. That entire area of the park, the sidewalk is going to be redone so that there's no tripping hazards. Planting is going to be conducted. More benches and other furniture to the street will be added. And then, as I mentioned, we are not done. There's still projects on the board in the future. We are still finalizing our designs for the restoration of 2 playgrounds in the park, 3rd Street and Lincoln Road. Then in the southeast corner of the park, there's an entrance in Ocean and Parkside. that is part of the project of restoring the sidewalk. And in addition to that, once the sidewalk is restored, we will add a monument to commemorate former Congress member Shirley Chisholm. And nearby, there's an abandoned restroom that we have the funding to reopen. And on top of that, we're going to build a small pavilion, which is the picture in the middle that you see. And the pavilion will provide content to educate the public on the legacy of Shirley Chisholm. So it's literally less than 5 minutes walk from the monument that will be added around 2027. And we see this working in collaboration so that people, when they see the monument, then they can walk to these informational panels and learn who she was, what the legacy was for our community, and, you know, for women and people of color as a whole. We also have an in-house crew of gardeners, herborists, that is our landscape management team. Last year, they partnered with the Parks Department and introduced our first wave of trails. Nature trails are basically paths that are not fully paved, but that you're able to take into the woodlands so that you basically are having like a nature hike in the city. This is a project that we're proud of. It's just the first phase of this project. We still are working to expand them. So far is 5 routes that will take you into the woodlands of the of Prospect Park. There's some scenic points along those routes, and we even have designed a trail system along the routes so that you know which path you're on, and you can follow along with maps that the Parks Department is working in providing in the future. We have also a public programs team that partners with other organizations to carry out important work in cultural programming in the park. In October of last year, we were very honored to be joined by the communities of the Lenape and having the first powwow in Prospect Park since the 1970s. And just the second powwow in New York City to have been ever planned exclusively by Lenape people. It was a 2-day event that took place at the roller rink in Lefrak Center. They have dancing, drumming, food vendors. It was an overall celebration of the culture and basically inviting them back into a land that used to be theirs and is still their home. Then this year we are working our historic museum, which is the house that you see there on the upper right corner. That's the Lefferts Historic House. At the Lefferts Historic House this year, we're doing an exhibition on Shirley Chisholm ahead of the implementation of the monument and the new pavilion. We want to give a better sense to the community about who Shirley Chisholm was, the legacy, and, you know, why her work means so much to our local community. Lastly, because of we want to see the park be activated into not just green space, but also a resource for being healthy and active, the Alliance has been trying to partner with other organizations to make space in the park to be more conscious about your health. Last year, we partnered with DOE for the second time to bring the summer meals trucks into the park. What we found in this partnership is that we were able to provide nearly 4,000 meals to those who qualify. And in doing so, it was a successful partnership because when you come to the park, you already feel safe. There's already a sense of protection in the space that you are. So asking for help in such a way that is like so basic, like food, feels natural in a space like this. And then for the third year, we have partnered with New York Presbyterian in having a mobile clinic be in the park. We started at just Grand Army Plaza, but it's now at also on a second day of the week on our Ocean and Parkside entrance. This is a mobile health clinic that allows people to have screenings for their sexual health. Though the mission there is to have a constant presence. So while you're walking today, you might not stop. You know that next week they're going to still be there, and you might consider actually going in the next time. In healthcare, the way that they explained to me, having the visibility and the consistency is the most important thing, because people are not thinking necessarily on doing it right there, right now, but they might be thinking it next week or the week that follows. So being constantly there is a necessary thing. So it's a successful partnership that we're still continuing to work with them. And lastly, through our in-house public programs team, we have started more nature walks, walks for recently mothers who have recently given birth, as basically building a sense of community through exercise that is low impact, such as walking. And then very lastly, last summer we welcome our new operators at the Lefrak Center, our roller rink and ice rink in the winter season. It has been a huge success. Most of our new or returning customers have told us that the difference is night and day. It's clear that the new operators are actually doing their work in maintaining the facility. They have been engaging with local community members and community organizations to have more partnerships, events that are actually rooted in collaboration. And we are about to actually start Roller Rink again. This weekend, April 24th, will be the reopening of the roller rink. So we are excited that this new operator is working so well with us in the community. And yeah, that's basically my presentation. That's the update of what we did mainly 2025. Some glances at what we're doing in 2026. I am welcome to answer any questions that you might have.
First, I want to thank you for your presentation and for coming. Okay. Thank you. Last year and now this year, you have not brought to us what your plans are regarding the pedestrian ramps. I had to learn this from your architect firm. I want to know why. Why hasn't this been brought up to the community at large? This will affect the entire southwest side of Prospect Park, including my foundation. Why do I have to stand before you and present this to you? I think that should be the other way around. Don't everybody agree? Do I get an answer? Do you have any knowledge of this? I doubt it.
May I ask to clarify what pedestrian ramps you're referring to?
I'm sorry? Say that again?
What pedestrian ramps are you referring to? Because I'm
Park, South, West, and 16th Street. That Prospect Park and their infinite wisdom want to build pedestrian ramps across Prospect Park Southwest, which is a truck route, a bus route, 50-foot trailer tractors drive up and down that street. Does anybody have any idea how high those trucks are? How high you're gonna have to build a pedestrian ramp?
If you're asking about an actual street that is outside of Prospect Park, I can already tell you that we are not involved.
Oh, where Prospect Park Southwest is?
Yes. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. If it's an actual roadway, we have no involvement in the construction or design.
Actual roadway.
That is
Prospect Park
DOT.
Southwest is the actual roadway. Both directions. Bus going north, bus going southwest. Trucks going north, trucks going both ways. Ambulances. Let's talk about the ambulances. They fly. They can't go through the park. I want an answer from Prospect Park, and I would appreciate it if I would get it shortly, because I have been inundated with questions, and I have none.
Just one thing, I don't think Helios works with Prospect Park, right? Or Department of Transportation. This is the Alliance.
I work with Prospect Park Alliance, which is the
Okay.
nonprofit that takes care of Prospect Park. What you are describing is a project that is for the streets that are outside of Prospect Park, which falls under the jurisdiction of DOT. So my team has no involvement actually on any redesigns that will be on that area.
Well, if this is a Prospect Park project, shouldn't Prospect Park come to us with a presentation? You have all
What
of
I'm trying
this
to
bit-
say is that the
all of
responsibility.
these- I'm speaking. You have all of these millions of dollars for the project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but not one about a pedestrian ramp. Not one.
What I'm telling you is that
So-
that project is not under our
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
thank you, Helios. I think what he's saying is that project is probably Department of Transportation. So what we'll do, Joan, is we'll reach out to them to see if they have information on that project.
Please.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your presentation. Oh, okay. My name is Debbie Hurden. I live in CB7, and I'm sorry. I wanted to ask if there's any plan to provide compost services with the food services that are being offered by Prospect Park Alliance. Because there's more and more, as you said, there's people going in to get food from schools. There's also the summer programs where there's a lot of food served. And we see a lot of food going into the garbage in Prospect Park, and we're wondering if there's a plan to capture that food as either using DSNY or a private carter to capture the food and not let it go to waste. And that's something we're going to actually address with the next presentation. I also wanted to mention, I don't know if you have a response to that before I continue.
Yes, it's a good question about waste disposal inside of park. I would say that we are subject to the policies of the city and how basically the Parks Department works with sanitation in managing the trash in the park is going to be the same applied citywide. So I have known as of now that the city council is equally concerned with the waste management, the way that it's not being adequately separated for both recycling and composting. And I have been informed that at least city council, the parks department committee at the council level is supposed to be holding a hearing soon to discuss this very issue with both sanitation and Parks Department. But inside of the Prospect Park, as I mentioned, it is still the responsibility of the agency. So Parks Department is still ultimately in control.
The Alliance is not weighing in or helping move that along at all in Prospect Park?
The Alliance is committed in our environmental work. So whenever possible, we do advocate for composting and proper separation of waste. I mean, the new restroom that I mentioned that is going to be added on the Bale, we designed it to be focused mainly in composting. It's a composting restroom. So our point of view is that compost should be added whatever possible to most of our designs. And in this discussion, we are in support of having that distinction in the waste management.
Also, with the summer festival specifically, I know that Prospect Park Alliance partners with Brick. So is there anything that can be done privately with Brick in the summer, with the summer? It's like, it's literally going back 10 years that this is weighing on me. Like every summer, watching people go into the park, enjoy the show, buy tons of food, create tons of garbage. Is there anything that can be done, especially during the summer season, with the Brick partnership with the food waste and the recycling?
I would say that Brick is subject to the same limitations that we suffer from, that it is not Brick ultimately who is responsible for those, for the waste disposal. It is the maintenance team from Parks Department, the one that we supply through ACE. So ultimately, Brick will still be limited in what they can do, just as the Alliance would be. Yeah.
So it's, I mean, that's literally the same answer I've heard for a lot of years. So it's just very frustrating to hear it again. So I'm going to move on to something else. Okay. So about the Grand Army Plaza. Okay. About the Grand Army Plaza redesign, the DOT is holding sessions at the where's this? At the plaza itself on April 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m., April 25th from 10 to 1 p.m., and a virtual session on April 29th in the evening. That's about the redesign for pedestrians and bicyclists at Grand Army Plaza. So just like there could be one potentially that would be helpful on the southwest side, they are planning something on the Grand Army Plaza side, DOT is. So the community should get involved with that because it's related to the pedestrian and cyclist movement through the, that they're going to close down some of those streets permanently, possibly at Grand Army Plaza.
Yes, all that information is correct. Did you have a question related to that, or just wanted to re-emphasize it for everyone here? Yes. Yes, so just to reemphasize what she just mentioned, yes, DOT is planning a redesign of Grand Army Plaza. One of the proposals that they have for that design is basically reconnecting the arch into Prospect Park proper, which will close one of the main roadways that is currently vehicular transit. And they will have 3 different sessions of community engagement, 2 in person at the Grand Army Plaza and 1 via Zoom. So while the Alliance is not involved in that design, nor do we have any really involvement in the planning of the workshops, we do encourage everyone to attend. And we are currently actually also sharing that through our socials and newsletter for better visibility. Any other questions? Okay, with that, I thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you so much. And now we're moving on to our final presentation of the night. Jason from Brooklyn Swab, right? Jason from Brooklyn Swab.
Thank you everyone for having us tonight. As mentioned, my name is Jason. I lead outreach for the Brooklyn SWAB, or Solid Waste Advisory Board, and I'm here with Mary Ellen, who is the chair of our board. She's going to have a moment to share some information as well. But for tonight, we wanted to give a brief overview of what the SWAB does, and also really open ourselves as a partner to this organization and the local waste-related issues that are relevant for CB7. So I'm going to start with some general overview information. Mary Ellen will touch on some of our upcoming priorities, and then we'll have a chance to dive into some of the data that we've looked at for CB7 as well. First, I want to just ground us in the origin of the swabs. They were created in the late 80s as a result of the city's focus, you can see here from Local Law 19, on recycling specifically, and then codified within the administrative code as this group of citizens collectives around solid waste. They exist in every borough right now except for Staten Island. We work together across boroughs and also independently. So there's a lot of work that we do that is specific to Brooklyn. We consist of a lot of different community members, everything from residents and community members who are passionate about waste-related issues, as well as sustainability professionals, climate professionals who have all gravitated toward this board. And really what we do is advise the city council, the administration, as well as state leaders on those issues of solid waste. So today we can think about recycling, composting, et cetera. All come through our organization, and we like to advocate and take action on their behalf.
Hello again. Thanks for having us. Just to give everyone some context, we wanted to talk quickly about what is waste. So essentially, New York City generates 13 million tons of waste a year. Of that, 3.7 to 4 million tons is residential waste. And really, we've been conditioned as a society to be like, okay, waste goes away. We don't really think about it. So you might be wondering why is there a swab? Because 75% of residential waste is recyclable or divertible, but we don't do it. Right now, we only divert about 19% of our waste. So really the SWAB members, as Jason have talked about, are a bunch of trash nerds that are super excited about ways to really bring that 19% up to the full 75. Additionally, transportation and processing of New York City's waste is primarily using gas-powered trucks, and it's sent to landfills or incinerators. So basically it's burned or buried, creating negative health impacts in the transportation avenues and corridors of Brooklyn and other boroughs, as well as the place that it's taken outside the city. So just a quick rundown there. So what is our reason for being? What we really want to do is we want to outreach to community boards, to citizens, and we really want to provide education about what's going on with our trash. And based on that, we advocate for policy changes to process and manage our trash differently, more effectively, without negative health impacts. We organize volunteer activities. And as Jason will talk about in more depth later, we make data visible on waste-related items. Goals were focused on increased diversion. I've talked about that earlier. There's actually a law on the books passed by New York City Council about zero waste to landfills or incinerators. It's actually reducing it by 90%, but that is really significant. So it is possible we can, if we're really efficient, we can divert 75% of our waste and have other ways of reducing the other parts of it. And again, we want to have waste equity for all the residents of New York City. Within Brooklyn, Community Board 1 is the biggest impacted, but you all know that Circular Services is located within your borough, and there are a lot of trucks going there as well. This is just a quick summary of what the SWAB does. I don't want to go into it in too much detail. I know we've covered a lot, but one of the main focuses that the SWAB has been working on right now is the getting community feedback on the draft 2026 solid waste management plan. The Department of Sanitation issued that in October. And we have been putting out testimony. We've been talking with New York City Council. It has not yet been approved, but we are still working on it. We consider it a status quo for what is going on right now. They have increased targets to increase diversion, but we don't have a lot of detailed plans about how they're going to make it a reality. So with that, let me pass it back to Jason.
Thank you. Cool. So I want to double click a little bit into some of the data tools that we've started creating with the Brooklyn swab and together actually with the Manhattan swab as well. What I'm going to try to do is actually move over to a live website here. Let's see if this works. Great. Okay. So this is a website launched by the swabs called Track NYC Trash, and it's got a few different data tools on it that are all grounded in data that's supplied on a monthly basis from the Department of Sanitation. What we do is try to make that data a little bit more discernible and understandable and easier to follow what's actually happening on the ground. So I've pulled up here a dashboard that shows, in this case, organics and the capture rate across Brooklyn. So just to level set, capture rate is essentially of the total potential amount of a waste stream, in this case organics, how much is actually diverted from trash. So we can see here for the last 12 plus months from January 2025 forward, and we can change the date range if we wanted to. Overall, the city has had a capture rate for organics of around 7.2%. What we can now do is zoom in right to where we are and display the chart for this community district. And that brings us to 7.71%. All the data here now is local to this community district. You can see the seasonal swings and how much food waste and yard waste is set aside for organics capture. For example, if we look at this chart from the last 12 plus months, January and February were lower. I'm going to put forward some potential causes, but obviously causation here and correlation are very different things. But we had the snowstorms in January and February. It's possible that that might have impacted both collection from DSNY and also folks' ability to actually put food waste and food scraps out in their brown bins on the street. Another thing that we've observed, and this has been true across all community districts and all boroughs, is this big leap from March 2025 to April 2025. That's when enforcement started for the collection of food waste and separation from regular waste. So there's a lot that we can learn just by looking at this data. And then below this, we actually have that capture rate. So again, the percentage that's actually captured of what is possible to be captured month over month. I can also show, I'm going to zoom into Brooklyn and then I'll move forward and advance the slides here. But if we just look at the Brooklyn level, it's interesting to see how CB7 ranks up against other community districts. And so we can see this heat map here. The darker is the higher level of capture. So kind of middle of the pack with that 7.7%. And you can kind of see the disparities across the borough. We have similar charts for recycling. So in this case, metal, glass, and plastic, much higher volume across the city and a much higher capture rate. I think this past month, March, was actually the highest that we've seen in the trackable data here, almost at 50%. Still a lot of ways to go in terms of what could be recycled, what can be recycled. And then we have paper here as well. I was actually noticing earlier today when I was preparing this that CB7 is actually doing pretty solid, top 3 right here when it comes to paper capture. Again, hovering in this case around 60%. Interesting, I don't have an answer for this, but the capture rate is much lower for plastics and metals. And CB7 is much higher in the rankings for paper. So it'd be interesting to understand potential reasons for that. The last thing I want to show with the data here, and then I'll jump back to the slides and hand it over to Mary Ellen again, is diversion rate. So Mary Ellen alluded to some of the goals that we have as a city in terms of what our diversion can be. Diversion is, as opposed to capture rate, diversion is of all the waste that is actually discarded today, what percentage of that could be sent to a reusable waste stream. So it could be sent to composting, it could be recycled. The city today is averaging that 19% that Mary Ellen referenced. And we can again look at Community Ward 7, which is at 21%. So doing a little bit better than average. There's been a nice upswing in recent months, but again, still a lot of ways to go until we get to 75%. So what our group is really focused around is starting to use this data in ways that are instructive for local communities and neighborhoods, and understand like what are the reasons why certain communities are doing stronger than others. What can we do to share education between community districts and really collectively as a city bring these numbers up? So I want to transition from there into perhaps like a little bit of a discussion, or at least feedback from folks here. You know, part of our mission is to really connect back to the issues that you're seeing on the ground and being better able to advocate for those. So I'm curious what issues are perhaps top of mind for CB7 that we can bring back to our organization and help you know, better coalesce around, if any. Waste issues that you're seeing on the ground that are important to CB7 that we can better advocate for.
What's going on, it's everywhere. It's, people are just they don't care. I passed by yesterday and I was coming from church and I had to take a picture of it because it was so annoying, because there was a garbage can and there was a bag of garbage right in front of it. Whoever left it couldn't even bother to put it inside the garbage can or go walk 5 feet away to the corner and throw it out. People are just not, nobody wants to, they're doing it. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing it. I know a lot of people are doing it, but the mentality is insane. Like I've sat in lunchrooms in the summertime of schools, and they have all these garbage cans, compost, this, that, right? They're just not following it. And it just hurts because I know the impact of this. I'm really OCD a little bit on this stuff. And I can't understand why people don't want to make a difference. I came up to them last couple of weeks ago. What I would like to do is have like a cleanup, but it sounds crazy, but divide the recycling to the compost to make piles and have like a group of people in the community see this is the impact of compost, this is the impact of recycling, this is the impact of paper, because we're not getting it. We're not getting it. And it's like I said, it's not everybody. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
I have to admit, I'm a member of the Brooklyn Swab, but I'm also a member of the community. So I wanted to talk about a few areas where there's really bad illegal dumping. There's the railroad tracks up in the 60s around 7th and 8th Avenue. Very, very bad dumping all over there. And ever since the snowstorms, there's just garbage that congealed into many streets in the district, including on 4th Avenue in the bike lanes, including all the way over where I live on the border of the district, Ocean Parkway, Caton Avenue, McDonald Avenue. There's just like you said, people just leaving garbage in certain areas, people just leaving bags of garbage. It's a huge cultural problem. And yes, there should be more cleanups. And actually we have an event coming up, which is going to be, it's at Bush Terminal, right? We're doing a cleanup on Saturday, May 2nd, right? Bush Terminal, what time is it? At 9:30 to 11:30. It's part of City of Water Day. So we'd love to have volunteers come and help us clean up over there. There's definitely a lot of areas where just garbage goes into the water, garbage is by the water, garbage is on the trails and the sidewalks there. I think it's actually not so bad because I do think the Parks Department cleans up there. But when you get close to the waterway, that's where you see a lot of the garbage is like blown by the wind and the bad weather. And then it gets into our waterways, also into our sewer, also the garbage in the sewers. So there's a number of sewers that got really blocked up because of bad weather this season. So I would love to see, like, if the community board could get a group of volunteers, just like Prospect Park Alliance does, to maybe dig into some of these issues, because it really is local. It's so hyper local. It's, you know, that I know that there's in Kensington, there's a group that's doing some cleanup, but like every neighborhood should have groups that are sponsored by the community board, I think, because then you get more people involved. If it went in your newsletters, if it was, you know, at the main board meeting, because it's a huge issue. And just the cleanup part is not, so it's, I mean, some of us like get OCD about it. We can just stand there and clean up for hours, but that's not the point. The point is that everybody in the community has to see this and participate and understand, not just the people like us who are like geeks about it. So.
Hi, I'm Maria Roca, Friends of Sunset Park. I want to say a few things about the parks, the open spaces. Friends of Sunset Park was founded in very tail end of 94, beginning of 95. And at the beginning, there was a lot of enthusiasm to putting together groups of neighbors and coming into the park and doing cleanups and working with the parks for them to supply the tools and the whatnot. It lasted maybe, I want to say, 2 years, when the people who were working 2 jobs, because regardless of what many people think, Sunset Park is still a working class neighborhood by and large. And so people who were working 2 jobs or alternating 3 jobs, you know, between a mom and a dad and the kids, and they wanted their children to have a good example, present a good example for the children. But then there was a disconnect with the Parks Department, and I'll say it. The way, because of all the rules of the union and the this and the that, and the fact that parks are scattered sites, which are very hard to manage. And at the time, there was no money in the budget. There's still supposedly no money in the budget to create ways for the staff to check in the park itself. Like in Sunset Park, the check-in would be at the shared bathroom building rather than going into the recreation center, then checking in, then walking over. And then because that crew also serves Rainbow Park and some other park, then they get taken by bus, the one, what do you call it? One of those 15 passenger buses. The end of the day, because I followed that whole routine one day, I was so surprised that nobody called me on, like, why are you following us? And timed the whole thing. Out of an 8-hour day, the productivity was not even 4 hours. And now the technology exists, so somebody can put in their hand, this existed for years now, where you could put one of those stations at that shed where the bathrooms are, people check in with their hand. You know, if your hand doesn't go there, you are not checking in. And there is Wi-Fi in that building, from that building. So the technology exists. It's not that expensive. So that run around of going there and having a coffee, and I understand that whole thing, you know, the people need to be happy to come to work. It's not the fanciest or nicest type of work to do. But then people who have working 2 jobs and taking care of their children and struggling are saying, I'm not coming out to the park for 3 hours or 4 hours, as much as we love you, Maria, and all you're doing. And my kids really had a great time and all of that. Because look at them, they're sitting there doing nothing. Or I see them at Fifth Avenue getting food, and by the time they go get the food and then they eat, it's a 2-hour lunch. And there, I'm not blaming the people. I'm blaming the management of the people. That why is this so loose? What is going on? That, and I know what's going on. I think most people, it is just an unwillingness to structure. It is a business. The parks are a business like anything else. Garbage, this and that. And that hasn't changed. It's very loose because of the scatter side, what do you call it, nature of parks management. So I think whenever you enter parks, I think everybody has a responsibility. If you're raising money to do what you're doing, and there's a lot of volunteer hours that go into this, there has to be, whether they like it or not, a connection to the park's administration and insisting, if not in person, if they don't have time to meet, that there is something in the record, in writing, that if they, well, you didn't complain, you didn't know, well, I send you the memo, I send you the email on that, and this date, and this pictures, and this was, is it gonna make friends? Are you gonna make friends? I'm gonna tell you no, I'm guaranteed. But if we're gonna do this work, and I'm committed to, because the parks are vacations for many families. That's the only vacation they have. That piece of it needs to be repaired, needs to be attended to. We have a new administration. Maybe they'll listen. We have a new commissioner that seems to come with a very nice resume as to sounds like, reads like she would be open and attend, to a conversation and hearing about this. So that's what I'm going to say, my 2 cents on that, because without that component, without the buying in of the Parks Department, you can do all the organizing you want, and sit down with people to have a cup of coffee and get it across to them and the whole thing. But at the end of the day, the Parks Department claims ownership of the parks. They're the landlord. It's our land. Never mind, this is your park. That was something that was nice to hear, but they don't think of it that way. So, and that, and then there was very quickly, the other thing about, this is about the cleanup. There was something else. I come back rather than going to my brain and trying to pull it out right now. But thank you for the time to be able to say what I said.
Okay, I really appreciate that. And we would love to be able to share our May 2nd Riverkeeper Sweep cleanup with the community. If anybody wants to join, Bush Terminal Park, May 2nd, 9:30 to 11:30. And if anyone else has any ideas about cleanups that they'd like to see within the community, please reach out to us. And we are happy to organize an event within your community and in a space that you think is appropriate.
Real quick, can
Yep.
you guys also share that event information with the board so that they can send it in our news ticker?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll send it tonight or tomorrow. Yep.
So May 2nd, I had reached out to them, and I have a group of more than 100 and something people that day. And I have some projects that I'm doing in Sunset Park. And I spoke to them about doing another project around the park, but they already did that project.
Event on May 2nd too. I was just gonna say it after.
I know, but you said you were gonna put mulch on the trees
That's
around.
May 2nd too.
It's done. They did it. Yeah, they
Oh.
did it.
Everyone, okay. Okay.
So I have people that I can give you
Perfect.
Because, so I need to get in
Perfect.
contact with you for that day. It has to be May 2nd, though.
Perfect. Yeah, that's when we're doing it. We love it.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we have 10 gloves, but it seems like we need more. I have more, and so we can certainly round up more. I've got a lot of bags. Yep. I also wanted to let you know we have another member of Brooklyn Swab. His name is Mark Hellerman. He operates a composting site on Green Space and Fourth. So that is between, I think, Sackett and Union. So if anybody ever wants to see how composting gets done, they can check out Mark Hellerman there, another CB7 member. And we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how community boards can help. Again, we're here as a proof that we would love to collaborate with you. So we'll be sharing emails and you can reach out, let us know what you want. Again, we like to educate and have dialogue with residents about what's going on within our waste. You as a group can monitor and report on evolving waste trends. Containerization will eventually be coming. Based on the new Mom Donnie rollout, I don't think it's coming to CB7 very quickly, but it will. You can also engage with local leaders. Oftentimes, the swabs will have resolutions that we can send out about how we'd like community boards to be lobbying city council members, the mayors, other groups about really pushing for certain legislation. And one thing that you can do, this might be more for land use, you can really push them on whether or not new developments have adequate space and staffing for waste within the buildings. I'm part of community board too, and a lot of times they talk about there's a blog center and there's a fitness gym and there's this and there's that. But a lot of times what we hear from residents that have difficulty source separating and recycling is that buildings are not allocating sufficient space and they're not hiring enough people to get it properly done. So, so pushing from the community board side would be a huge help in that direction. Anything else that I forgot or any questions? Okay.
Comment about, I forget who, I think it was you, watching people with children, because the child will educate the parents, often in this type of these topics. There are some schools that are doing amazing work, both in District 15 and in District 20. We're split here in Sunset Park. But it is because the principal took that on as part of the science part of the project and integrating it into the curriculum of the school, whether it's the cafeteria, making sure everybody's behaving in the cafeteria and doing, and they give out paper tickets if they see you that have to, so what are the consequences, and everybody, and they work. And 503 in District 20 on 60th Street between 4th and 3rd. It's one of them, that principle. Unbelievable. And PS 24 in there. I'm sure there are other schools. IS 50 on 5th and I think 5th Street also has been doing. So the schools are, it is not across the board, but I think, in that case, you got to reach out to each school and maybe just send out a blanket thing. And what I wanted to offer, if you send whatever it is that you're doing to Friends of Sunset Park, we have a pretty busy Twitter, X, excuse me, presence and Facebook, and we post, we have sort of agreements with other people. They can possibly 20 sites throughout this part of Brooklyn, even Red Hook and, the Friends of the Court, so always happy to take what you have and amplify it and put it out there. So, and I'll give you the email and whatnot. Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any last minute questions for the members of the Brooklyn Swab?
Okay, well, any final comments, questions from anyone? No? Okay, well, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you,
Have a great
everybody.
night.